Alright guys, so here's the rundown on the Chevelle. There were some areas that I knew before I tore it down that were going to need to be replaced, and you've already seen it in the video. Part of it is the rear window channel, bottom half. The rest of it is fine, so I'll have to kind of rebuild these corners. Part of the package tray here, it comes up into here. I've already got both panels for this, but I don't think I'm going to replace the entire panel. We'll see when I get into cutting into it, but I was thinking about cutting it in here and just replacing up to there, and kind of the same thing with this from here back, but like I said, that's just kind of a wait and see until I cut it open. A lot of people would prefer to go with a full panel, but good majority of the metal in this car is still good, and I don't like replacing things that don't need to be replaced, so to speak. I like to keep as much original metal as possible. The other area is the lower cowl. This area here, which is real minor, there's not a lot there, and they're not in really tough areas to get to. Possibly this side, I'm thinking, a little bit up in here. Same thing with the other side. This area here is good, but down in here is not. So that area needs to be replaced. The floor's still good, just surface rust. This quarter, I think I explained it in some of my older videos, but I'll re-explain it now since it's been a couple years. This whole thing is rotted out. I knew it was going to rot out. I progressively watched it do so. And the reason for that is this quarter here, I think had damage at one time, and before I got the car it was replaced, but it wasn't the whole quarter. They cut it and they skinned it, but they overlapped the skin instead of butt welding it. So from here back down into here, and obviously down here, which is where most of the moisture sat, is where they overlapped it, and there's a little bit of a gap. So depending on what it looks like when I grind down the areas where it was spliced in, it's a possibility I'll completely cut this thing back out, reskin it, but I'll butt weld it together. If I absolutely don't have to do that, I'm not going to. I'll just get the lower half of the quarter skin patch panel and replace it from here down. So today the plan is to go ahead and get the rear deck filler panel and package tray kind of sorted out. Package tray extension panels, which are these up in here, they don't, from what I've been able to find, I don't think they make them for a 70. Of course, 68 through 72 is all the same, and the Pontiacs are the same. So if anything, I should be able to get one and put that in there as well. But they're really not bad. I may just rebuild the corner slightly, do some metal fabrication and bending, and just put that corner back in, because it's just those two corner areas that are rotted. A few other things we got going that I plan on doing is I'm going to smooth this out and delete that whole area there. I was originally going to smooth the whole firewall, but I'm not going to go that route. Just kind of this area here and just slightly over the trans hump. Otherwise, as far as rust goes, guys, that is pretty much all that there is in this car. There's one last metal thing I've got to do as far as fabrication. Other than the fenders, where they rotted out in the same area as the cowl. But it's this little area here. I have no idea how this came about or why. But this should actually fill this gap. But somewhere along the lines, it looks like somebody cut it out and welded it in a hell of a lot shorter than it needed to be. So that'll be something that'll be fixed. But anyway, so it starts. Alright guys, so it begins. I cut this piece out and see what we're gonna do under here. Cutting into my cars always makes me super fucking nervous. That's bad. Okay guys, so the decision here is we're just going to go ahead and replace the whole rear deck filler panel. But I'm not going to replace the whole package tray. Up here's all good. This is fine. From about here back is not. So I'm going to go ahead and drill out all the spot welds. Get the rest of this rear deck filler panel off. And I'm going to tie it in from here back. So I got to do all the spot welds here, over there, and here. Get these little end pieces off. I think I'm just going to rebuild these corners. It's not going to take any time at all really to do that. And that's kind of the whole basic layout and plan, is to go ahead and just replace this whole piece in here and then the top rear deck filler panel. So all right, got that all cut out. Now just going to clean up a few areas, finish a few little spot welds that need to be drilled and possibly repaired in a few areas, and get it prepped and ready to go for the replacement panels. Alright guys, so it's day 2. We went ahead and got this panel here cut out last night, which is the trunk gutter and the rear deck filler panel. That absolutely, positively needed to be replaced. We got the new one here, and this is what I was talking about, guys. It comes off of package tray. I went ahead and just cut this piece out because the package tray is still good in the car, so no need to take the whole thing out and replace it. Rear trunk divider panel there, or yeah, rear deck divider panel, whatever. Got all the holes popped for it, for the spot welds. Got all the holes on this one drilled and ready to go. These little tools right here, man, they are awesome. They're sheet metal flanging tool, but it's a 2-in-1. It's got the hole punch on it too, which is great. Only downside to it is, unless it's like a flat piece of metal, if there's any lip like this, you can't get in there and pop it, so you have to drill it and do it the old-fashioned way, which is not a big deal. So I'm going to get this thing fitted here in a few minutes and start welding it up. The other thing here is, guys, I had to fill in a few areas. This part here was rotted here in the corner, and I had to replace that and put a patch panel in there. Same with this here, but on the opposite side, this whole back piece was completely rotted out and needed to be replaced. Filled all the holes. Instead of doing plug welds, I'll just do spot welds. And that's about it. Everything's pretty much cleaned up and ready to kind of fit in here. Alright guys, we got the rear trunk gutter in, which I think is kind of what they call this little area here. Got my gap pretty close. I'm really happy with the way that kind of came out. When I cut this out of the old one, I went and made a template from here with real thin cardboard and tape, marked it, cut it out, and then laid it over the package tray area while this was still on it, and marked it that way to make sure that I would get my gap as close as possible, because I really didn't want to do a bunch of fill work with this thing. So it's close enough that pretty much all my tacks are, it's gonna go pretty quick, and then I'll grind it down smooth. I don't know if I'll go 100% smooth, because you know that's gonna take away from the welds and everything and possibility of cracking, but a lot of that's gonna be hid by the rear deck filler panel, which is right there. It's just about ready to go in. I've got to drill a few more holes across where the window channel goes, so it can be spot welded, and then clean up a few of the holes on this so to make a real good clean weld, along with cleaning up a few areas that I've got marked for these holes here, because I don't want it melting through or not burning it all, because I'm going to have to be doing overhead, and that MIG does not like overhead. But yeah, I got all the patch panels and everything that needed to be filled. And then it's on to filling in and rebuilding these corners on each side. Most of the window channel on this thing, front and rear, is pretty good. It's got some pitting and surface rust. There's a few little places like this here that are rotted out, and you can see the metal where it's taken some years of damage from rain and moisture. Depending on how bad that is, I'm going to get in there and clean it up as much as possible. I may just directly weld over the top of it and grind it down smooth, just for the pure fact that, you know, it's going to save work, but at the same time, there is another backing panel and plate behind this that's good metal. So anyway, guys, that's where I'm at. It looks like I'm probably going to go ahead and get the rear deck filler panel in today. I don't know if I'll get it completely welded in yet. At least tacked, but it was a full day yesterday from, oh hell, an hour or two after I got up all the way into about 7 o'clock before we cut out. So I'm gonna kind of do the same thing again today. I'm not even sure what time it is or how long I've been out here, but anyway, guys. Well, I am done for the night. Not because I'm worn out or tired, but because I am at a standstill. Ran out of gas for the welder, so didn't quite get this finished up. I got a few little areas left, about 3 different spots, I believe. Otherwise, this is pretty much done. I went ahead and ground down some of the welds on it already. Gonna see if I can get a hold of some welding gas here in the next day or two and get back to it, but because of that, was not able to get deck filler panel on yet. Got all the holes drilled for it though, and pretty much got it prepped and ready to go. So all I got to do is set it in there, clamp it, get the fitment right, and start welding it in. So we'll see what we get for welding gas here in the next day or two, but it's getting there, guys. It's a long process doing all the little tack welds and stitch welds and whatnot. Those of you who weld and fabricate, you know. So anyway, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Remember, stay frosty, ride or die, Reaper out. Fuck spot welds.